welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, for a Barca news roundup coming your way. Obviously, it's been a little bit more of a quiet weekend here, a rare one, I have to say, when it comes to Barca, but coming up today, attention is turning now to the Osasuna game on Thursday, with real emphasis today on centre-back, some concerns that we have in that area, but also, guys, we've got transfer news right here today, with the right-back positions and the left-wing position under the microscope, with important debate. I think we need to have some good debate, actually, regarding some of these reported Barca targets. So it's all on the way. I hope you're going to enjoy it. I hope you're doing well. Now let's do this. But if we do indeed start with a very important update here on Pau Cubarsi and how he's doing right now, what his fitness situation is, because obviously on Thursday night there up against the Netherlands in the Nations League, he was subbed off after just 40 minutes of that game. And of course, when Cubarsi was subbed off, we all started panicking. I think that's the natural reaction to have. You know, we've seen him go down, we saw him get subbed off, and we didn't want any significant injury. Obviously not, ahead of one of the most important periods of our season. Now, Barca, immediately, they wanted Pau back at the club. They wanted him straight away to leave the Spanish camp. They wanted to check him out. They wanted him to return. And Spain, they actually made a big fuss about it. You know, at first they actually said, no, we want him to stay. We don't want to let him leave the camp. We want to check him over ourselves first. He might even feature in the game on Sunday. But obviously that was never ever going to happen. He did eventually leave the Spanish camp, and now Barca have been able to do tests on him, and the club say that there is a little bit of concern there over the ankle of Pau Cubarsi, but that it's not a serious injury there, and basically he will need to be further evaluated. It will need to be tested out to see, you know, is there pain? Has he fully recovered there from the knock that he received? And basically next week he is going to be trying to train there with the group to basically see if he can be involved against Osasuna on Thursday. And I think it's quite important right now, guys, we talk here about the fact we really might need him. Because think about it right now, Inigo Martinez, he's out injured. Andreas Christensen, we know, has been out for some time. Now, Araujo is returning very late as well. So already, we're getting a bit of a crisis situation at centre-back. We will need Pau, if he is fit to play, in that game on Thursday. Because, well, what is the latest then on Rafinha and Araujo? Are they definitely out of that game? Is there any chance that they could be involved? Well, right now in the media, apparently there's an outside chance that they could be in the squad for that game. Apparently Barca will have them return, both of them there, by private plane. So they're going to get them back into the city as soon as possible after they finish the last games there for their national teams in South America. But guys, I think with Rafinha, he was brilliant, by the way, the other night for Brazil. Absolutely fantastic, continuing his brilliant form. But Rafinha, his final game there with Brazil against Argentina, by the way, will be on Tuesday night. Now, you can't tell me that then he will travel back. He will face a very long trip back to Barcelona. Now, Araujo is a little bit different because that there will be a little bit earlier on Tuesday night. So there is more chance maybe for him to get that flight back, to be in the city of Barcelona, to have that one day really of recovery time, and then play on Thursday. Look, it's not ideal. It's still not something that you'd really want to do, you know, in ideal circumstances. And I think it's still crazy, by the way, guys, that we're going ahead with this game on Thursday, especially when both teams, it's not just like Barca are complaining here and they're the only ones. Osasuna did not want to play this game on this day either, so both clubs were very unhappy. Those appeals, those thoughts were turned away by La Liga. They had no interest in what we were saying, and the game will go ahead. Now, another player, though, who should be involved in that game on Thursday is Ferran Torres. What we are hearing in the media right now is that he is in line to start the game against Osasuna. Now, of course, remember, before the international break, he came on against Atleti. He was brilliant, didn't he? He really did change the game. 2 goals for him, yet more goals this season. He now has 7 in La Liga, and he scored a goal every 78 minutes. That is the best goals per minute record in La Liga this season. You know, nicely done there by Ferran Torres. And like I say, he is in line to start. Lewandowski right now, although he's away with Poland, although he is playing, he is still suffering from a little bit of discomfort. Barca may not risk him there on Thursday, and it could be another big opportunity for Ferran from the start can he still have the same impact? But if we do move on here, guys, to some important transfer news that we are hearing in the media throughout this international break, and let's talk here about Vanderson. Now, this is a Brazilian right-back playing his football at Monaco, and this is somebody, by the way, that Barca, and particularly Deco, has been tracking and admiring for quite some time. They really, really do appreciate his quality, and apparently Vanderson, he is top of Barca's right-back shortlist. Of all the names that they have right now, he is at the very, very summit, and apparently the club have already held some initial talks there. Monaco are aware of Barca's interest, the player is as well. He'll be absolutely delighted to come to the club, and from what I've seen of him, he's a very solid option. You know, that's the way that I describe here the quality of Vanderson. He's a very, very solid pick, and I think he sort of fits the bill for the kind of player we want in that right-back area, because it's not an easy position, an easy place in the squad to fill there, because Koundé, he's going to be our first choice. You know, he's a top player in our team. He is going to be the player who's playing at right back the most often, but the club needs somebody else who can provide stability, who's good enough there to deputise for Jules Koundé, and also, let's be honest, good enough to push him in that position. And we also need somebody who's ready to perform now. We don't really want to have time here. Flick wants somebody to grow and improve. We need somebody who can come in, make an immediate impact, and provide cover for Jules Koundé. Vanderson is only 23 years old, but already has some decent experience there at the top level. But Barca are also, I should point this out, they are still looking at Rayo Vallecano's Romanian right-back, Andrei Ratiu. He is still somebody the club really like the look of. He's an explosive player there on the right side, somebody who's impressed so much in La Liga this season, and he is still under consideration there for that right side, guys. So what do you think of Vanderson? What do you think of Ratiu? What do you think of the players who we should be looking at in this area? And how much would you spend trying to bring in here good quality cover in that area? Or would you stick with what we have? Let me know all of that down below. But then we have to come onto the left wing, because this is still a position at Barca that Deco and the club, they want to bring in a left winger. And we have to start by talking about Luis Diaz. Now, this is one that I still don't really fully understand. The obsession from, and it is again, Deco, he loves Luis Diaz. Now, I will admit, you know, there's quality there, there's talent there, of course. He's a player who hasn't really been at his best for a lot of this season. You know, he's had flashes, he's had bursts where he looks absolutely incredible, but in terms of consistency there, especially recently, not really been at the required level for Liverpool. But Deco loves this guy, and Luis Diaz as well would love to join Barca. He's made no secret of that at all. But I think the problem that I have with this deal is you'd be talking there about 60, 70, 80 million euros to probably sign Diaz from Liverpool. And I guarantee you, we've seen it in the past year, if we paid that for Diaz, I guarantee Liverpool would go out, spend that money on somebody better. You know, we've seen it in the past whereby we've actually supplied them with money to go and really fill up their squad with quality. So I don't really like the idea of that too much there. Luis Diaz, he's a good player, he's quality, yes, but I don't understand the obsession from Deco, because then you also hear rumours right now that somebody there like Ademola Lookman, who's available apparently this summer for around 30 million euros. Now, I'm not necessarily sure that will happen. For me, that seems incredibly cheap. You know, he's 27 years old, he's playing at an incredibly high level, he's performed as well in the Champions League this season for Atalanta. 30 million? I don't know if we'll get him that cheap there, but it does seem incredibly good value in the current market. And he is somebody that Barca are keeping an eye on. Apparently, he would really like to move to La Liga. He'd be very much open to the move there. But he is not among the top targets for us right now. We're looking at players there like Luis Diaz. We've still, of course, got Nico Williams in our mind as well. That one cannot be ruled out either. And obviously, Rafael Leao as well, who would be a much, much more expensive option there. But what do you think, guys? Looking at the left wing position, again, looking at the kind of player we need, because you're not going to move Rafinha. You know, you're not going to kick him out of the team. You know, you could obviously move him centrally, but then you've got Dani Olmo, you've got Yamal on the right. So again, we're looking for specific types of roles here in the squad. And I think Lookman, you know, if that is true, about 30 million euros, that would be something that I'd certainly have to look at. I'd certainly have to think about, because I don't think that we should be going splashing crazy money, you know, 60, 70, 80 million on Luis Diaz. For me, that would not represent good business. That is not the road that I would personally go down. But hey guys, I would like to know your opinions in the comments down below. How do you see the market right now? And how would you look to improve this already special Barca squad? Let me know all of that down below. I will be seeing you soon with lots more videos on the way. It's going to be a big week now coming up for Barca. Really excited to see them back, and I cannot wait to discuss it all with you guys along the way. Thank you indeed for all of your support. But until next time, guys, as always, Visca, El Barça.